Hey, what's up guys? Hendricks coming back at you for yet another U.S. History and Film informational video. Doesn't this feel like we're practically in class? Now I know we unfortunately got the bad news today that school won't be back until May the 4th, but don't worry, we're gonna figure some things out. It's not gonna be a big deal. First of all, I wanna make sure everybody's constantly checking out my teacher webpage. If you're not checking out my teacher webpage, you're making a serious mistake. Tell your friends, check it out. Now on the webpage, of course, is the class calendar. On the class calendar is where everything's going to be found. You can see it all right there. Maybe not in the video, but at home you can check it out real easy. So please make sure that you're doing that. Now the reason I'm coming at you today is because this week, due on Friday, April the 3rd, I want you to watch one World War II film and write me a half-page review about it. I need to have a little summary of the film, not too long, and I want to know what you thought was best. I want to know what you thought was the worst things about the film. What did you like best? What did you like least? Just like always. And the last thing, what do you think a veteran from the World War II might think about the film? Okay? So get your movies out, get to checking them out. Now, just wanted to show you guys a few examples of some of my own personal favorite World War II films. Now, first off, we've got Midway, and this is one we were supposed to watch in class. Unfortunately, we all know what happened. That didn't work out. So if you can find Midway, it's out now. It's in the Redbox. I don't know if it's on any streaming services yet. Honestly, I haven't checked. But if you can get a hold of that one, do that one. That's not a bad choice at all. Now, some of my other favorites, right? We watched a little bit of this one here in class already. It's Tora, Tora, Tora. Now, Tora, Tora, Tora is a really great film, and it tells the story of the Pearl Harbor attack from both the American and the Japanese perspective. It also was made by both an American and a Japanese company as a co-production, which is pretty cool as well. If you're a real history nerd, you'll like that one. Now, another one that's really great as well is Patton. If you've never heard of General George S. Patton, you should have. He was a tank commander and one of our best generals during World War II, but boy, he had a mouth on him. He loved to curse, and sometimes running his mouth would get him into a little bit of trouble. So you'll find that if you're one of those people that needs to watch your mouth, you can definitely relate to old General Patton. Now, another really good one that doesn't focus so much just on the war itself, but on some of the people and some of the bad things that happened to the people, is Schindler's List. If you've never heard of Schindler's List, I feel bad for you. It's a fantastic film. It focuses mainly on some of the Nazi atrocities against the Jewish people during the war, but it's really, really good. Make sure you've got yourself some tissues for that one. Another really good one also, Hacksaw Ridge. This is a great film. You might have seen it. It's not very old. It just came out a couple of years ago. It's about a guy who was basically a conscientious objector to fighting. He didn't object to being drafted and going to war, but he did, because of his strong religious beliefs, object to using a gun or ever firing a gun against a person. And this is a really great film. It's all a true story too, which is really cool. Now, you guys, a lot of y'all probably remember the movie Unbroken. We just watched it a couple of weeks ago. There is the sequel, Unbroken Path to Redemption. Now, technically speaking, this is a post-World War II film, but it deals extensively with Louis Zamperini's life after the war, how he met his wife, how he got over the PTSD he was suffering from and things like that. If you can find that one, it's a really good one. I enjoyed it myself. I thought it was really great. You guys might like it too. Now, probably my most favorite World War II film probably is going to be this one right here. This is Saving Private Ryan. It stars Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. Some of you guys might have seen it. It came out around 1998, and I'm telling you right now, this movie was absolutely positively robbed of the Best Picture Oscar by a movie called Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, have you heard of that one? Nobody has. You know why? Because it was forgettable. Saving Private Ryan, fantastic film. I will warn you, especially in the first half hour, it's very, very graphic. It pulled no punches when it came to World War II and the fighting. And in fact, the very first scenes are the men landing on the beaches during D-Day, the invasion into Europe. And it's very, very graphic, very realistic. They actually hired several World War II veterans as consultants to tell them, what it looked like, how did it feel, etc., etc. Another really good one as well is Dunkirk. Now, technically speaking, this may not fit into U.S. history and film because the United States was not yet actually involved in World War II when the Dunkirk situation happened. But to make a long story short, the war started, the Germans were fighting, they marched into France fast, the British, maybe kind of like a little bit overconfident, jumped into their boats, sailed across the channel, found themselves stuck on the beaches, and hundreds of thousands of men were in danger of getting killed very fast. And it tells the story rather of the greatest wartime seafaring rescue mission. What happened was a lot of the big military boats couldn't make it over, and so they just basically drafted in civilians, and they would just pull their little yachts and sailboats and all those kind of things over to France and save some men, right? Now here's another one based on the Pearl Harbor attack. It's called, creatively, Pearl Harbor. This is the one that stars Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett. Unfortunately, it actually has, in my opinion, a bit of a bad rap. A lot of people think this movie is super, super cheesy and terrible because of that. And they think that the World War II scenes, the Pearl Harbor scenes rather, are way overblown. They're you know, not correct historically speaking, and there's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I won't even get into it too much, but I'll tell you right now, this one actually gets a bit of a bad rap. And the reason for that is the director, Michael Bay is his name. You might recognize him from the Transformers films. He actually wanted to make this movie very similar to the kind of cheesy 1940s romances that you would have seen if the movie had come out in the 1940s. A lot of people miss that. A lot of people don't really get that fact about the film when they watch it, and they get sort of hung up in the very cheesy love story. And I'll tell you right now, it is kind of cheesy, so be ready for that. But you're stuck in the house, you're not doing anything else, tell your mom to come watch it with you. She'll love it, I promise. Now, there's a couple right there. Let's talk about some sort of, I guess you might call them unorthodox type of World War II films. Starting off with this one right here, a little movie called Inglourious You Know What. This movie is a Quentin Tarantino film, and it is just about as far from being historically accurate as you could possibly get. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I telling you it's okay to take a look at this one here? Well, first of all, it's one of those movies to where, like, you kind of wish it was totally true, because, you know, the Germans were the bad guys and they did all sorts of horrible things. And it's about a team of American soldiers who go on a mission to try and assassinate Adolf Hitler at a movie theater in France during the war. But it's really fun to watch from that perspective as somebody who wishes it was true. But I'll tell you right now, none of it is true. It's just a crazy film set during World War II, right? But you might like it. It's got a lot of dialogue. If you're into Quentin Tarantino films, you might like that one quite a bit. One more here that is basically a World War II complete fantasy film is called The Final Countdown. This movie came out in the early 80s, and it asked the question, what would happen if a modern-day aircraft carrier, like you see on the cover here, somehow went into this freaky time warp and got sent back and was able to prevent the Pearl Harbor attack? It's pretty good. It's got Kirk Douglas and Martin Sheen, and I like it because I sort of like to imagine, wow, what would my feelings be if I was in that situation? You guys might like it. I'll tell you right now, your dad probably will like it a lot. Now, one more movie that is probably highly unexpected in a video here about World War II films is going to be Captain America, the First Avenger. Yeah, remember that one? That's right, he was in World War II. He fought the Nazis. Red Skull was a Nazi. There you go. So if you decide you want to watch that one, have at it. Why not? It's a crazy situation. Gets crazy. Why not? One last addendum, and I don't want to call anybody out by name. You know who you are. Somebody sent me a message on my office cell phone, and they asked, hey, Mr. Hendricks, I'm trying to think of a great World War II film. How about 1917? What's wrong with that picture? Well, if you didn't know already, 1917, while it is a pretty good war film, it's about World War I, not World War II. So, you know who you are. I won't say your name other than to say it starts with a J and it ends with Ackwagon. All right, guys, this has been the U.S. History and Film Weekly Update. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any questions or if you have any other films you'd like to just ask me about my opinion, hit me up. You can send me an email, you can send me a text message, you can call me on the phone. I'll answer it 9 to 3. You know the number. It's going to be down there in the description below of this video. So guys, I miss you. I wish we could be back in class together watching our films together. But in the meantime, hey, we'll make the best of it. Thanks a lot.